Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the channel if you're new to it. This is Hayden Newberry Fishing, and making a video today. Some of the baits that I'm rigging up, kind of some fall fishing techniques, and a big factor that I feel like plays into the fall time type transition, the biting and everything. So really I think the main part of this video is the speed aspect when it comes to fall and bait selection going into that. Obviously on my next tournament is that Bassmaster Open on Lake Hartwell, where I feel like the speed's gonna play a role in getting more bites. We just came off the Red River, which was more of a late summer type tournament, still brutally hot, but speed for me to get a couple more bites played a role there. I was actually fishing a frog for most of the tournament. Leading up to it in practice, I was actually throwing a swim jig, spinnerbait, that type of stuff quite a bit. And when it came to getting those fish to commit, show themselves in the pads, I was using speed to do that. There was tons of times that you could work a frog, this is what the frog I was using, a Booyah Pad Crasher. I was actually using more of a color to mimic bluegill, because there were so many bluegill working in those pads. You could hear them everywhere, and I was thinking that was more so what the bass were feeding on in there. But I could take that and work it through an area and they wouldn't touch it, and you wouldn't even know a fish was there. But then if I took it and I literally just reeled it quick or popped it through a couple feet at a time, you would get those fish that would shoot out from the side and commit themselves to it and show themselves. And then you could either slow it down so that they could really hone in on it in those thick pads, or if they missed it, you could throw it back in. I had multiple fish that I threw back into that tried to get through the pads, smaller ones that couldn't quite break through, that would try multiple times at the same frog, just as long as you slowed it down once you had them hunting for it. Another thing that I was using, a swim jig. Got quite a few bites in practice, ended up not actually throwing it much in the tournament, just to working a small swim jig around to mimic some of the little bait up in the shallows. And another key part to it is I wasn't really working it that slow. I was covering quite a bit of water, and I think that even more so in the fall, as the fall transition goes, you start to work your way more into that. Speed plays such a huge role in getting those fish to react, and the fact that you can just cover more water, because you might get less bites because you get some fish to react, but you could have covered quite a bit of water because a lot of the fish are scattered out. I think more so on like Lake Hartwell with the clear water and stuff, you're going to see a lot of guys catching them on flukes, top waters, jerk baits. You got those fish chasing those herring out in open water. And from my experience, what I know is that speed plays a huge factor when you're dealing with those blueback herring chasers. There's other lakes that even just with shad you'll run into that, where they'll be out in open water, and it's like you need some speed to get them to commit to it. But I feel like it's even more so because those herring fish are just so accustomed to being out in wide open water, and the things that they're chasing are fast, and so they are just used to the bait being fast. I've had times before when I couldn't hardly get them to bite something on Hartwell, and I was going too slow. I was giving them too much of a look at it, and that's to me is almost the best thing to take from, I guess, the fall bite, even across the country, is that in the fall more so it mimics that type of bite where you really need speed more than anything. You don't want to give them a look at it, and you want to just cover tons of water. Fishing's going to be tough, and you want to put in front of as many fish as you can, but at the same time not give them a great look at it. Like, I keep using Hartwell as an example because it's one of those clear water lakes where those fish are out in open water chasing, and the fall is no exception to that at all. But prop baits, little ploppers and choppos, I personally, especially in clear water, like something that's a little translucent, something that just looks like bait fish flying across the top of the water just trying to get away. And spooks, which this is, I feel like these two, or these four right here, I feel like are something that most people are pretty familiar with in the fall time. You got your spooks and your ploppers, and those, covering water with those, I'll add in buzzbait. I've got it out too. A buzzbait is a huge deal. A lot of times in the fall, I'll actually either use some type of translucent trailer, or I'll downsize it. A lot of times I'll just put like maybe even just a little creature bait on the back or something. And like I said, cover water, cover more water, and keep covering water. But that's my take on it. What you guys should keep in mind going in the fall. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt to slow down sometimes, but I think a huge deal when those fish are starting to chase, because they get so broken up just chasing bait in every single different direction in the fall. And I'm not just saying either the back of bays and stuff. I feel like that's, and maybe that's just where they're able to pin them down more often, and it's easier to find the fish in the back of bays. But there's been research that the fish that live out on the main lake, and a lot of fish that live in the back of these creeks live in the back of the creeks. Ken Smith has a cool video on his channel where he's talking to a biologist that did a study, and the fish that they were tracking didn't move back in the fall. They were active in just different places. So it's possible that that's actually more of a misconception, that everybody thinks that the fish are moving back in coves in the fall, when possibly they actually just live there, and maybe it was just easier to catch them back there because of the less surface area when they're out chasing. But anyway, it's just a little bit of info that I can give you about the fall. Got a guy coming with a leaf blower, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thanks for watching the video, guys. See you on the next one.